When you're looking at the different times for planning, like 10-year goals, 5-year goals, how do you really know how much time to assign to them?
That is a fascinating conversation. Um, it's why the nature of time horizons I like to use in the context of the Muller method. Now, we have today interesting technology breakthroughs. There's things possible today that were not possible seemingly a year or two ago. Now, that's a little semantic languaging there, right? They were probably possible, but they weren't probable or likely. They weren't attainable. They won't be things we thought we could do. So where you are on the planet today, let's use a physical example. If you had to come meet me in London and the only way to get there was on your 2 feet, on a bicycle, on a rowing boat, if you gave yourself a decade, you would probably know that you could get there from anywhere on the planet. Does that land as true for you, Terry?
Yeah,
If I gave you a minute, it would probably be impossible for most people unless they were already there.
I would agree.
Now, they might not have thought about, well, what if you got picked up in a special spaceship with Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and they teleport you? There's other creative ideas we can have, but there's a line between grounded reality, interesting pragmatic creativity, and delusional fantasy. Does that track?
Yes, it does. And I think it's the fantasy thing that I worry about.
Well, don't go worrying about it because part of what we want to do, and we talk about inside Chaos to Clarity, is this space of commitment and being open and managing expectations, zeroing them out. So if you take the intelligent action with the best information resources you have, you're probably going to move forward in the right direction. But my experience of life and business is kind of like a dolphin surfing on big waves out in the ocean. Can you picture that?
Yes, I can.
So they're able to twist and turn to somersault to go really quickly, but they're also having to notice what the waves are doing. They might be very predictable, they might be changeable. Maybe a big boat goes by and there's more waves. So, how does that relate to what we're talking about? You might have your normal commute, your normal journey, where you know how long it takes. The train takes an hour, you go there, you wait, and then one day the train goes fast, doesn't stop some places, or the train breaks down, or the train's delayed because of leaves on the line we have in the UK often, or something else has happened to the station. So there's two sides of it. One is having that strong, bright, clear commitment, having done the preparation with the Merlin methods when those chances come up, we can go action, action, action quickly and knowing that we're not going to happen until we start. And I'm using physical examples, but it happens for relationship building, development, sales, etc. Sometimes seemingly miraculous things happen. And that's what I call strategic alchemy because they're not miracles in that sense, but they're those unexpected chance happenings that you couldn't have wished for on your wildest days. But if we link back to the physical, I was traveling back from the States last year, and the plane was all booked, all checked in, ready to go. And then the airline systems went down all over Western Europe on Iberia in Spain and Portugal and where we were flying from. That was not a small thing. It was a problem. And then you have that choice to correlate it. You get the choice to go, what are the things I have to make happen? So when we're looking at timelines, most people are think like a color scale, right? Sort of under the water and infrared, all the way up to sort of ultraviolet and glowing gold and shining and flowing. When somebody is struggling and the only thing they've got to survive is deal with the next moment, you think about the old saber-toothed tiger charging our ancestors. It's no point having a 10-year plan when you've got the saber-toothed tiger coming to eat you and your family, right? Deal with that present moment. When you've got that stuff handled, then we have to start thinking, as Jim Rohn calls it, the ant philosophy. In the winter, there's going to be a summer. In the summer, there's going to be a winter. That cycling bit, so, so important. And if you don't, we get tripped out, right? If you were used to grabbing apples off the apple tree in the harvest season, and suddenly you got a foot of snow on the ground, you go, where the apple's gone, that would be not a good thing, right? So we have to manage these different time horizons, short term, medium, and long. And we have to learn how to do that with more and more aplomb, more and more accomplishment. As we get older, different health challenges often arrive, different personality challenges happen in business and life. People that were happy to do a job evolve and grow and want to be their own bosses. They want to separate and transfer different countries. And how do you handle that? So the beauty of having a thinking about different time horizons is you've done some of that work ahead of time. Life, though, doesn't really work in three-dimensional, four-dimensional time, right? We picture the map X, Y, Z in the time axis, and we can sort of theoretically map it out. But the actual experience of life is moment by moment by moment. That's quite sort of a metaphysical concept, sort of a, we'll call it a woo-woo thing. But reality is we live in the present moment happening now, 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 now. We have memories of the past, we have dreams and fancies of the future, but the actual experience of life is a moment by moment by moment experience. Now, it is possible for things to happen around you that you don't predict. You and I are using Zoom to record this, right? I didn't go and spend a decade building, designing Zoom by myself. I didn't work on that project directly. I had a conversation with people that may have done, but it wasn't I was doing, and yet it benefited us. And so much of life today is other people being creative and harnessing that creativity, which alters the game field we're playing on. So it's really helpful to have a long-term plan. And it's also something that's quite interesting is that they say that the activities will often take as long as the time you give them. Have you heard that before?
Oh, yes, and I've experienced that.
So there is this strange bit of sometimes, no, that task will take this month's time. And sometimes if you give yourself a 2 minute task or a 10 minute task or an hour task or a 1 week task, so you'll utilize the time based on the way you give yourself the space to play. Now, I'm being a bit evasive, maybe you might be thinking, but not. There's an art and science to this where life isn't mechanical. It isn't just this is how to do it. Some sequences of tasks are required to produce certain outcomes. If you want to get peanut butter and jelly sandwich on toast, you've got to toast the bread, peanut butter jelly, put it on in the right order, put together and eat it or share it with somebody else. But if you haven't got those ingredients to hand, you haven't got a toaster, the bread, peanut butter, and the jelly, you can't do that in the next 5 minutes. If you have those things, you can. So we have to be clear about the requirements we need, resources, time, energy, money to get something completed in the kit. We have to be clear about logistics, what's practical, and a buffer around it. And then we can start navigating, orchestrating life in whole different ways, knowing that the unpredictable is predictable to happen. That's the nature of the Chaos to Clarity book I wrote first. But most people get tripped up by it. Oh, when it happens, we get surprised and we haven't got a bigger plan. So if inside the 10-year context, the longer term context, you have buffers and availability, you can navigate while playing full out on a daily basis. Maybe you watched a game like rugby or hockey or football or basketball where you're playing point by point. Inside that one point and that one goal, activities are going on. You're running after, you're sprinting. They're these micro activities. But then they build up a game, they build up the season, they build up the legacy of these great teams. And hopefully that gives you a sense of how the time horizons can fit together.